Chapter 32. A Moment with Monica. Once they were alone in the locker room, Monica wrapped her arms around Marcus's neck, burying her head into his chest. "I'm so glad to see you." Marcus scanned the room. A new name was inscribed on a locker next to his own. 20. Tony. "The cohort is still growing?" Marcus mumbled. "Did you think you'd be the last one?" "I never thought about it. Have you met him?" "Yes, Tony is reserved, but very polite. He comes from a family of cops. He started selection right after me, so it took him a long time to finish." "Fraternizing with the newbies now?" "A little." Monica pressed her body onto Marcus. "What if he redacts?" "I broke tradition for you." Monica kissed him. Marcus stopped the embrace. "I'm not sure how to interpret that comment." Monica shifted her weight to one hip. "Are you jealous?" "No." "Good, that's a very unattractive quality. I told you in Vegas that I'm only interested in you. I meant it." Monica moved in to rekindle their kiss, but Marcus pulled her arms from his neck. "When did you say that?" "I was trying to when you kicked me to the curb. You surprised me. You weren't supposed to be there." "Well, I wouldn't have come if you'd taken a tech unit with you. We could have entangled from any distance during your trip." "You didn't want to." "Jordan would have lost his mind if he caught me using tech." "You still haven't told him?" Monica smirked. "Don't change the subject. You ghosted me the entire time I was gone because I wasn't available on demand for you in Vegas. You really want to pretend that never happened?" "Yes," Monica said. "That was the past. Live in the present. With me. Here and now. I want to have fun with you today." For all their physical passion, they'd yet to move into a real-world bed. "Tech sex?" Marcus replied. "Maybe I'm ready for more. I have something to ask you after the sequence, so don't leave without saying goodbye. Promise?" Marcus swallowed his frustration. "I promise." Monica blew a final kiss before disappearing into her locker. Sequence ID number 639. Data begins. The last thing he remembered was the confusion he felt staring at the broken frame of his front door. It had been kicked in. Wood splinters littered the porch in his living room. He was paralyzed by fear, wondering if this was real. He found the courage to creep into the house, but nothing looked out of place. "Hello?" Marcus's voice trembled. He held his breath, hoping to hear his wife's welcoming reply. Nothing came. He tiptoed through the rest of the empty home, and was heading for the kitchen when he saw someone in his peripheral vision. The warning provided enough time to face the charging stranger before their worlds collided. A vicious struggle ensued, ending on the ground with the intruder attempting to place plastic zip ties around Marcus's wrists. Through sheer determination, Marcus reversed positions, pinning the man face down and knocking him out with a strike to the base of his skull. When the invader finally awoke, Marcus had him zip-tied by the ankles and wrists to a kitchen chair. He was gagged, and his head was covered with a pillowcase to obscure his view of the red-hot butcher knife on the Viking stovetop. The only thing missing from the house was Marcus's wife, and the only lead was this captive man. Marcus ripped the cover off the attacker's head, screaming the question that consumed him. "Where's my wife?" The man's eyes scanned the room frantically. "Nod if you know where she is," Marcus said through grit teeth. The man took a long time to think, shaking his head to say no. Marcus slipped his right hand into a Kevlar oven glove, lifted the luminescent blade from the range, and held it inches from the attacker's face. "I'll give you a moment to rethink your answer. If I believe you, I'll call the police. If I think you're lying, I'm going to drive this into your stomach over and over and over again until you're honest with me." Marcus put the blade back on the open flame and left the room. His hands shook violently from the adrenaline and uncertainty. Marcus returned and retrieved the glowing knife from the stovetop before repeating his question. "Where is my wife?" The man hesitated, looking at the blade, then Marcus, and through tears shook his head again. Marcus set the knife on the burner and removed his Kevlar glove. He tore the tape from the man's mouth and yanked the towel gag free. The intruder sat silently. "You know," Marcus began, "all around the world, people use nodding for yes and shaking for no. It's strange, don't you think, since we all speak different languages? Of course, there are a few exceptions, but people of diverse histories and cultures all communicate the same sentiments with those two gestures." What are the odds? The man said nothing. Why were you in my house, and why did you attack me? The man shuddered as he offered an explanation. I was walking by. I saw the broken door. I knocked, but no one answered. I came in to help, I swear. Then I saw you. I thought you were the person who broke the door. I swear, let me live. Please believe me. Please. I'm begging you, don't hurt me. The man wept pathetically. I have a family, I swear. Have mercy. Marcus paced around the man. He had signs of drug addiction, likely meth, given his stench of ammonia and severe acne scars. You tried to use plastic ties to subdue me, Marcus stated. I know because they're holding you to that chair now. Where did they come from? They aren't mine. Without allowing the man to speak, Marcus snapped, I don't believe you! Just like you didn't believe me when I gave you your options! Marcus grabbed the knife and plunged the glowing end into the man's torso. The sounds of animalistic agony and frying flesh echoed off the granite countertops. Marcus suppressed his instinct to vomit, pulled the blade free, and placed it on the stovetop again. The scent of seared skin filled the room. The man slumped over, passed out. Pain radiated up Marcus's arm. He'd failed to use the Kevlar glove, and his palm and fingers were beginning to blister. Marcus wrapped his scorched hand with a thin dish towel and slapped the unconscious intruder with the other to wake him. The heat of the knife cauterized your wound. We can do this for hours if necessary, or you can just come clean. The man mumbled incoherently while rocking and convulsing. Let me save you more pain. Marcus seized the sides of the man's face. You're dead. Do you understand? Accept it. Embrace it.
But how you die hasn't been decided yet.
You can go in agony you never imagined possible. Or you can end your life quickly by doing the right thing. Tell me where my wife is, please. The defiant intruder stayed silent, so Marcus donned his left hand with the glove and drove the knife into the man's stomach a few more times. The use of his non-dominant hand made a mess of the wounds, until the man, choking on mouthfuls of blood, pleaded for a respite. I'll stop when you tell me the truth, Marcus barked. She was taken, he whimpered, as a comfort girl. What does that mean? To be trafficked. A sex slave. Marcus lost his grip on the knife. He couldn't comprehend what was just said. It sounded so far from the realm of possibility. Then rage took over. He picked the blade off the floor and pressed it against the invader's face. Where is she now? Marcus vehemently spat the words. No more, please, tell me, or this goes in your mouth! A trailer. Southwest corner of the lake, there's a dirt road. The man was slipping in and out of consciousness again. Marcus's cauterization wasn't working. Blood leaked from the man's gut and pooled on the floor between his feet. Where? How far? Marcus was desperate now. A mile. Ravine. Behind a hill. It's hidden. Hidden how? Who has her? How many are there? Marcus shook the comatose man. Wake up! Who has her? The intruder lacked the life force to reply. Marcus's right hand was throbbing under his makeshift field dressing. But he'd be able to pull a trigger, and that's what mattered most. He retrieved his rifle from the gun safe, thanked the unconscious man for his last act of kindness, and fired a single mercy shot into the intruder's head. Despite speeding, the drive along the lake felt like an eternity. Thoughts of his wife consumed Marcus, and whether she was still alive. His mind bounced through the list of unknowns when a hard realization hit him. I left the stove running. Shit! Marcus was familiar with this landscape. He hunted rabbits here as a teenager. He had no idea how far behind the captors he was, and he couldn't call the police on account of the murdered man in his home. The sun was close to setting, and soon he'd be in the shadows. He found the dirt road and a mile later pulled into a grove of trees. He had 2 30-round magazines for his rifle. Depending on how many people he encountered, this could be a lot or too little. Marcus stepped from his car and into the protection of dusk. He jogged parallel to the road, using the sparse trees as cover where he could. He heard a truck approaching long before he could see its headlights. He crouched in the brush, burying his face so the reflection of his eyes didn't alert the occupants of his presence. The truck stopped 100 yards up the road, then pulled left and disappeared behind a hill. This was the place, Marcus told himself. He followed them to an old camper with a faded red stripe on its side and a rusted propane tank on its hitch. Other vehicles were parked some distance away. A group of 7 men stood in the large open field. You'd never know this place existed if you didn't have an invitation. Marcus sat at the edge of the trees while memorizing each man's clothing, height, and hair color. He gave each of them a number, 1 through 7. These men are all guilty, and won't be leaving here alive. As he was about to move, another man emerged from the camper. Number 8. Settle down, settle down. Hey, shut the hell up, the man shouted over the raucous crowd. You know how this works, highest bidder first. If you plan any violence, you go to the back of the line no matter how much you pay. We're missing a couple of VIPs. If they show up, you'll have to shuffle around. No fighting and everyone waits their turn. You break any of the rules, I'll put a bullet in you. The man pulled a pistol from his back pocket and waved it in the air. Marcus didn't pause to think before he sprang into action, lunging from the trees like a lion on a herd of prey. His first few shots killed man number 8 before turning the assault in the group, annihilating numbers 1 and 3. As the others scattered, Marcus walked among them with immunity, taking time to aim before pulling the trigger. Precision helped him make the most of his limited ammunition. He caught the 2 men from the road in their truck, firing through the windshield and ending the existence of numbers 2 and 4. Each snap of the rifle sent shockwaves through his charred hand and up his right arm, haptic feedback of the justice delivered upon these men. Headlights lit up Marcus from the left. He turned and fired rapidly, sending the vehicle veering into a tree, marking the end of number 6. Marcus continued with his hunt, circling the field until he found number 7 cowering among the trees. Cut off from his vehicle, he pleaded for forgiveness, extending an offer of money he'd brought. Marcus executed him on the spot. Only number 5 was still alive. After searching the vehicles and the surrounding area multiple times, the man was still missing. The only place that remained unchecked was the silver camper. Marcus took a deep breath before tearing the door open and clearing the space. He found his wife motionless on the bed, heavily sedated. She was bound, blindfolded and gagged, but fully clothed. They were alone. She'll be safer here, he thought, shutting the door and moving back to his position behind the trees overlooking the vehicles. Marcus counted on the fact that the missing man didn't want to walk back to civilization. Before long, number 5 emerged from the trees, leapfrogging between vehicles. Marcus waited until he was in his truck, then fired repeatedly through the passenger window, killing the last of these despicable men. His job wasn't over. Without hesitation, Marcus moved the shot-up vehicles, using them to drag the lifeless bodies from the area at the same time and kicking dirt over the pools of blood. He wasn't sure who else would show up, but he wanted to maintain the element of surprise. Marcus calmly switched magazines in his rifle and took a position in the tree line again. After an hour, as his patience was wearing off, a large SUV arrived. It was a police vehicle. Marcus felt a tsunami of relief. He wasn't alone in this fight anymore, and could finally be reunited with his wife. As he started to walk into the clearing, something grabbed him. It wasn't a physical restraint, but he stopped, almost as if a wall stood before him. "Where is everyone?" the first officer asked as he sauntered into the beams of illumination created by the patrol car's headlights. "Are we really that late?" his raspy voice partner joined in. For the second time, Marcus acted without thinking. But unlike the unsuspecting men, these officers saw him coming. "Gun!" Before they could draw their weapons, Marcus was firing, killing the first cop with a headshot and sending the second man scurrying. Marcus tracked his movements with continued gunfire, striking both legs and causing him to fall. The officer frantically dragged himself along the ground as blood spurted from holes in his limbs. Marcus shot the crooked cop in both arms, but he continued to crawl. It reminded Marcus of the futile hilarity of Monty Python's Black Knight. He easily paced alongside the officer until the man flopped onto his back, screaming through tears of fearful rage, as Marcus fired his last shot into the man's contorted face. Sequence ID number 639. Data ends. Marcus awoke suspended in the darkness of the Liberty Bell. He felt terrible. Another plot point in Marcus's summer story, before his grand tour hiatus, was the increasing physical aftereffects of the sequences. They kept getting more intense and lasting longer. Ringing in his ears, an auditory phenomenon known as venous hum, joined the usual body aches after subsumption. To top things off, Marcus had also developed insomnia for the first time in his life. Even when he could sleep, he'd wake up in a panic, overcome with anxiety like he'd been suffocating. A sleep apnea test came back negative. So did a slew of other medical diagnostics Anthony insisted on. Brad tried everything in his control, but the problems persisted. Marcus's only choice was to stop doing the sequences and leave the cohort, an option he refused to entertain. He'd been optimistic a 6-week break would allow his body to reset, but as Marcus felt the familiar infirmity setting in, he accepted that it had been a false hope. Monica was waiting in Brad's office, sans Brad. Marcus's ears rang.
What did you want to ask?
What are your plans today? My calendar is wide open. Synchronicity! Monica bounced with excitement. I want to spend the entire day together. We could grab dinner, kill time at my place, then go to Nereo after dark and dance. It is my special day, after all.
Monica really had moved on from their tiff in Vegas, Marcus thought.
I assume you're driving? I need an hour, maybe a bit more. Text me your address again, I'll pick you up.
The birthday girl gets whatever she wants.
Dress up. I love ripping the gift wrap off my presents, Monica whispered as she kissed his cheek.